All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new TV show review. And today I'm reviewing Superman and Lois Season 3. And I don't know if I did a review on Season 1 or 2. I can't remember if I actually did a review on those. But I did want to do a review on Season 3, and I will do one once Season 4 drops as well, when it is finally over. But boy, this season was, in my opinion, the best out of all three seasons. Now, the very first two episodes of Superman and Lois, Season 1, are probably some of my favorite episodes. I really like the introduction of Superman in Season 1. They spent a lot of money on that, and it looked incredible. We got to see more of Superman in action in Season 3, and it was pretty cool because what you find out at the beginning of the season is that Lois Lane actually has cancer. And it was some very heavy stuff that they dealt with, and it was a theme throughout the entire season. Now, that bothered a lot of people. It didn't bother me at all. I think it made it more human, more real, and I think her story wasn't quite as real as it could have been because they accelerated the time frame pretty quickly. I mean, there were only 13 episodes or whatever it was in the whole season. I can't remember exactly how many episodes. I think it was 13. And so from beginning to end, the story, it all concludes a little too quickly in my eyes. But it was some heavy stuff. And it created some very emotional moments, especially in those first couple of episodes. And then later on, some of the storyline got a little weird, not quite as good. And the main part of the storyline felt like it was going to be wrapped up 2 episodes before the show, the season ended. And that's when we got the big surprise of the season, and they bring in Lex Luthor, which he has not been in previous seasons. And this brought in the actor Michael Cudlitz. Now, he's been around in some other stuff. I saw him in The Walking Dead. He was actually in that show. He was the red-haired guy. I forget his name. So he was in quite a few episodes of The Walking Dead back, 6-7 years ago, whenever it was. And then he was also in one of my favorite shows that has ever aired on TV. If you guys have never seen this, check out the show Southland. I don't know where it's streaming, but it is streaming somewhere. Definitely check out Southland if you guys have never watched that show. I think it is the best cop show that has ever aired on TV, and it was only out for like four short seasons. That was it. And he was one of 2 main cops in that show. And there were other cops, but I would say him and his partner were the 2 main cops. Now, we had one cast member change in this season, and that is the character of Jonathan Kent is no longer played by the original guy who played him. Somebody named Michael Bishop came in and took over. And I was a little worried about them changing characters, halfway through the show, the run of the show, and I was worried it just wasn't going to mesh too well. But I got to tell you that Bishop did a fantastic job slipping into that role, and by the end of the season, you won't even remember the other guy who was playing him. I think they did a really good job of integrating him and making it all mesh together pretty well. So I'm not going to give away the big spoiler at the end because there is a big spoiler in that very final episode. I thought it was kind of interesting take on what they did. And some of the special effects, you could tell that they're definitely going on a smaller budget now. Now, one thing I did not like about the season was the fact that Lex Luthor was so much older than Superman and Lois. Well, he at least looks so much older because Hecklin himself, who plays Superman, the very first time I saw him was in a Tom Hanks movie, which is one of my favorite movies, and I'm forgetting the movie off the top of my head. It is one of my favorite movies, and I've talked about it on my channel before, and I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, but it was a mobster movie. Incredible film, but he was just a little kid in that. So he's got to be in his, by now he's probably in his late 20s, but they're almost acting like they're, with kids their age, they're acting like they're parents my age. And I had kids when I was young. I had my first child when I was 21. So I was pretty young, and I have kids that age, and I'm much older than Tyler Hoechlin is. So they're playing characters that are supposed to be much older than they look and that they actually are. But Lex Luthor, he looks a lot older, and what you find out when they introduce him is that he's been in jail for 20 years, which I thought was outlandish. for that to be that way and for them to have such a hatred of that character, both Superman and Lois would have been very, very young when he went into jail. And so I don't think the timeline works all that well. And in fact, they should have, if they were going to do the storyline the way they did, they should have said he was in jail for maybe 5 years, not 20. I think that was excessive. I think it was a miss by the writers. It should have been just 5 years. But it was interesting to see this version of Lex. Felt like Lex. I'm eager to see more in the final season. And all I got to say at this point is I think it's a shame that Warner Brothers has canceled this show. And we've had reports from the industry insiders saying that it was canceled because Gunn does not want a different version of Superman interfering with his version of Superman. They keep touting and talking about this multiverse world, but they definitely don't want to use it, which I think is a shame. And it's going to be sad to see this show go because it's got a great cast of characters. And I heard that the budget for season 4 is slashed drastically. So a lot of the main people that we see are just not going to be showing up in that final season. And so there are some changes coming, but we'll see when season 4 starts. I don't think it's going to be out until this coming fall. So we're going to have to wait a little while longer for it. And when it does get released, I will start reviewing those episodes as well. But I had been behind for a long time and just finished. I definitely didn't do a review on season 2 because I just finished it before I watched season 3. But I think I have a season 1 review out there. I'm not 100% positive. So if I had to give this a rating out of 5 stars, I'd give season 3 4 out of 5 stars or an 8 out of 10. It could have been a little tighter with the storyline, but man, it was impactful and really well done. All the actors did a fantastic job in their roles. All right, guys, so there's my review of season 3 of Superman and Lois. If you guys have seen it, what did you think? And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. It is playing on Max. All right, guys, we will see you on the next review.